Welcome back to On Isles Time. Brendan Yerkes, Cole Healy. The Islanders season is underway, but it has not started how we thought it would. Islanders start out 0-3 with losses to the Pittsburgh Penguins, Washington Capitals, and Winnipeg Jets to start the season. Again, not what we expected, but
Not at all.
we wanted to come on here after the first weekend and talk about it because we have to for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I know I think we both recognize we're probably more optimistic than the average fan, but
Only a little
even
bit.
so, this is just even just a slightly less optimism than what we had would have been better than what we've seen so far. So yes, it's definitely not expecting this start, unfortunately.
And I'm not going to come on here and rip the team. I think that I'm not here for the moral victories either. It sounds like I'm talking about
Yeah.
the
All right,
Jets, the New
Patrick.
York Jets. But it's only 3 games too, which is part of it. And we've already said that it's a transition year in our last episode. That it's a win-win situation. If the team is good and they're fighting for a playoff spot, great. If not, then you sell off your pieces and then you look for the future that you're looking forward to. Anyways, that's more important in the brain. Before we get started, make sure to follow us on all our social media channels at On Isles Time, ONISLESTIME, on TikTok, Instagram, and X. And make sure to subscribe on YouTube at On Isles Time. All right, let's get into it. We're talking Matthew Schaefer first again. We'll start with the positives, right? I think we should. Because for everything else that's been a disaster, Matthew Schaefer looks like a potential star on the blue line. I mean, he is everywhere. The best player the Islanders have had through 3 games. I don't think there's any debate there. And at 18 years old, averaging 26 minutes in the second 2 games, the second and third game. The first game, not that many. First game, obviously, but he just looks like he belongs. But and even more than that, I mean, it's impressive just because we know the Islanders have been an older, slower skating team for a while. But I think that makes him look even faster. Like he probably looks way faster than every other team if he was on a different team. But being on the Islanders, it makes him look 10 times faster because we haven't seen skating like this, I think, ever.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, we both expect him to kind of play. We both thought he was going to be solid, right? But I know we talked about I believe it was last episode, we talked about he's going to make mistakes, right? But he is just, and again, he is still going to make mistakes. I don't want to, kind of go past that, right? But he has looked so much better than I think anyone imagined he would be in his first 3 games. Like it's just an instant impact. Like he's flying, right? Like he's like you said, he's all over the place. He's doing it all. Give the puck to Barzal, right? Run a give and go, and then he's the first guy in on the forecheck, and then he's still the first guy back. Like it's just we've never had a player like this on the Islanders, and I really, again, 3 games in, right? The only other two defensemen skating like this are Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, and even that, I don't think Quinn Hughes is quite as fast as Schaefer. Obviously, very good. Not trying to put Schaefer over Hughes at all, but it's just so unique, and you really think of those two guys when you think of elite skating defensemen, and it's just crazy to see a guy who's barely 18 in that category after his first 3 games in the NHL.
It really is impressive. Just the first game, the first point setting up Drouin, who's looked pretty solid in the 2 games. Obviously, he got suspended in the first one, and then the goal. Just, I mean, being at UBS Arena was just it was great to be back, see everybody again, and the energy and just he's flying all over the ice. This is the first time I've watched him in person. I didn't go to any of the preseason games, and all over the place. The best player we have on the ice, and then that goal. I'm so focused on the net front because it was just chaos of what was going on. And then I see him come sliding in, and I wasn't even like I'm obviously knew it was him, but I was more so like focused on the net, and just he poked in. I'm like, oh my god! And then he comes starts skating away, and you're like, oh my god, it was Schaefer. The place, I think everybody like obviously knew it was him, but like when they all was like he was skating away celebrating, the place went absolutely nuts. It might be the loudest I've ever heard UBS, and I've been to some playoff games with one there and some good moments, but we haven't seen QBS at its full potential because of the struggles of the team. The entire place was going absolutely nuts. And then that ridiculous 10-minute review, which was pathetic. He was skating around, pumping up the crowd, and then just they announced it, and it was insane again. I mean, that place was going nuts. The Schaefer chant, and he's just a face of the franchise, something that they have not had since Tavares. I mean, it was definitely Tavares. People, loved him here before obviously he left, but to have that guy that all these kids can look up to, and it's such a good story, and how he's gone through so much and how he perseveres. He's such a leader. He represents the area and he's going to represent the team so well. And it's only 3 games, but just the energy he brings, he's bringing people to the arena to watch him play. Okay, that's going to happen. It's going to be, again, struggles for the team, looks like so far, but he is must see TV and will bring people in back to this franchise and for years to come if he keeps this up. We're having a special player on our hands, more so than we thought. Just because I'm sure you're going to get to this too, and we talked about it previously. He didn't play at all last year, so maybe by the time the draft came around, if he played all year last year, he would be a generational prospect in the draft. But there wasn't that thought because he only played 17 games, so nobody really knew. You knew what he had in him potential wise, but nobody saw this coming, especially so early. But again, don't want to jump ahead too far. Long season, but so far it's hard not to like what you're seeing.
Yeah, it definitely looks like we have a special player on our hands. Like Patrick Wall said, it was after the game against Washington, the home opener. He said, if I was a fan, I am gonna pay to watch him play." And it's just like such high praise. Again, obviously, getting that praise from any NHL coach, right? This is Patrick Wall. This is a top 3 goalie of all time, saying that about an 18-year-old after 3 games. And we never see 18-year-old defensemen in the NHL. I think the last one was Jacob Chikrin, if I'm correct, because Owen
Might
Power
be.
was the last D-man
Even
to
Owen
go
Power
first, and he
didn't. I
didn't
mean,
play.
just 18-year-olds in general. I mean, it's only the first overall picks are the only ones that do it, and it's only the Bedard, Celebrinis of the world that actually do that. But then more on coaches, Scott Arniel goes out and says, "Well, he looks like that guy on Colorado who could skate that well." Well, you're getting praise from other teams too. 3 games in, that's what you like to see. 2 assists and a goal already, so point per game so far, and he wasn't really getting talked about much for the Calder, I think because he's a defenseman and because of the inexperience and the lack of games played. But so far, I mean, again, we're not giving out an award after 3 games, but he's going to be in it. He's going to be in that race. And I think that would be a fun thing for Islanders fans to look forward to because we're looking towards the future. You want to see development. So, Schaefer makes every game worth watching in what could turn into a lost season. But again, there's still time to turn things around. But Schaefer has just been so tremendous, and even though I know he's going to make mistakes, he's going to make mistakes. It's going to happen, but it's the right year to have it happen in the transitional year, and just have him keep developing and getting better. I'm worried that they might overuse him, but I think if it gets to that point, they'll they'll wane him down a little bit, and they'll do maybe what we talked about last episode, where they'll give him a game off here and there. But it's still early, so we haven't gotten to that point yet. So they're going to be careful. They're not going to risk anything with him. But so far, so good. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but it's hard not to, especially when that's the only bright spot we've really had in this past weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, like he's a special player. It is worth it to turn an Islander game on to watch this guy play. And when was the last time you could say that about any Islander?
And
Like it's
national
been a long
attention,
time.
they never said that. You're getting
Yeah.
guys on Spit and Chicklets saying, we have to watch the Islanders for this kid. Nobody ever wanted to watch the Islanders, especially under Lou. So,
Yeah, it's a different time. As the marketing's been saying, it's a new era. And it's again, 3 games, but it's so fun just to see that now. Again, 3 games, but it's tough to not get excited about this.
yeah. It's a marathon, not a sprint, is what I want everybody to remember throughout this process, because the prospects in the pipeline are coming. And if they struggle this year, it's not about this year. It's hard in the short term, but it will be better just to look ahead, because in the teams of the past few years that finished short and didn't look so great, there was no hope. Now you see the light at the end of the tunnel, that there's prospects that are all playing extremely well. We're not going to go into that this episode, but everywhere our top prospects are scoring, putting up points, making plays, and that's what you want to see. But moving on, this is on a more negative side, to the complete opposite of the Schaefer talk. But the rest of the decor has been an absolute disaster. I don't think there's any minced words there. They have been a nightmare, all of them. I mean, some have had good plays here and there, but overall, it's been bad. I mean,
It's
Romanov
not pretty.
getting the contract, he struggled. I think it's because of who he's playing with too. But D'Angelo not looked great defensively at all, and not even really giving you much offensively right now either. Pellick and Pollock look lost out there, and Scott Mayfield has made his fair share of mistakes too, even though he's the scapegoat of everybody. But I think it's pretty much all of them equally right now.
Yeah, it's not you can't really put it all on one guy. Like it's just not been good. Yeah, I mean that Romanov D'Angelo pairing. Like I still trust Romanov. Like he's gonna turn it around 3 games in. But yeah, no, that pair has just been horrendous. And I think part of it is because like we truly don't have a number one pair. Like everyone's like kind of between that like maybe mid to low end second pair. And so you throw Romanov and D'Angelo. Everyone knows he's never been great defensively. And you're throwing him out against. I think they've been considered the top pair for all 3 games, right? You're going out against other teams' top line, so it's just. But even then, they just don't. Romanov blew a tire before I believe it was Morgan Barron's goal against Winnipeg. It's just been tough to watch in their own end. I know we were both kind of saying people have been too hard on Ryan Pollock, but seems like we were wrong there. Like this start, these first 3 games, he has not been good. I believe it was him in Pittsburgh on Crosby's power play goal. Puck just went through the crease and like Pulak wasn't locking down his stick. Crosby tapped it in. Same thing happened against Winnipeg. I don't remember who scored it, but it's the same thing. Pulak's like kind of like turning around and like just doesn't take the guy's stick. It's a tap in.
I think by far that's the worst contract on the team. I think, people like to talk about the Mayfield one, the Engvall one. The Pollock one is not ideal for the term left, the money, even though with the cap is going up, but for what he's giving, it's not enough. And I think him and Pellick are both guys that I think playoff teams would covet come the deadline if they'd be willing to change their, no move clauses around with the list and stuff. But there's potential for those two guys to have success as, a bottom pairing guy or a second pair guy on a good team. But they can't carry the load like they used to. And, I do expect Romanov to be better. Like you said, Mayfield, you know what he is at this point. I think he's a product of his surroundings. Like he's solid. And I'm a Mayfield defender. I'm probably the biggest Mayfield defender in the Islanders fan base and the entire Islanders community. But if it's bad already, he's not gonna help the situation. So overall, the D needs work, and I think the biggest problem with it is net front. Like you just said with Pollock in front of the net, those 2 goals that are so important. That was such a big issue last year, and we always talked about Noah Dobson for it. And I'm not going to come on and talk about Dobson, but he did it last year where he was too soft in front of the net. We would say wouldn't lift sticks. He would get bumped out of the way. Guys would get open, tap ins, deflections galore, and he's gone. But it's everybody else is still doing it. They had to work on that because whether it's a spin move, no matter how the guy gets there, you got to clear the net front. And how many times already this season have we seen goals go in where it's right in the crease, at the top of the crease, surrounding the net? It's all right there. That's the most important part in the D zone, and they're not covering it. And that's supposed to be the D man in front with the center, who the centers have been okay, but it depends on the situation. That needs to be better. And if they don't fix that, then they're going to be giving up a bunch of goals a game because in this new era that we want to call it, Patrick Waugh wants to play this run and gun style where they're playing high scoring games. You're going to give up 3 goals. You need to score 4. And at this rate, they're giving up a lot of goals and they're not scoring at all, which we'll talk about the forwards a little bit later. But yeah, the D core is not great. And I think the last thing I'll add on this is Marshall Warren was AHL Player of the Week. He had a great preseason, a great camp, and is playing great so far in the AHL. So maybe eventually he gets a shot, but I think that would have to come with injury or trade. I don't know if they're going to do it unless it gets so bad where they just have to end up benching somebody who's making a decent salary. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then obviously Isaiah George is there too. It's just that the right side is just so thin on potential options. On to the forwards. Like I mentioned, I think they've been solid for the most part. I think the big issue, if you can agree, disagree, but they're not scoring goals. That's what it is. And we've seen that in the past. But I think the actual positioning, the setup, the speed has been there that we haven't seen. They're not scoring and they're setting up a lot of chances. But when the puck's not going in the net, it makes you not feel good about things. But, you got to
I
think
mean,
they're going to score more eventually.
yeah, like I'm with you. Like they look so much better than last year. They're getting chances. It's just they're not finishing. I'm
And we knew
really
that'd
not
be the
worried.
issue with this team, right? Like the
Yeah.
D would be the problem when you looked at it, and the forwards would be good. You just expect more out of Sorokin, which we'll talk about a little bit later. He can't bail you out, but the forwards solid.
Yeah, like I love that first game, that line of Holmstrom, Pageau, and Shabanov. Like I mean, Holmstrom made that nice play to get Shabanov his first NHL goal. I thought they played really well. Obviously, that line was broken up. Yeah, like they've just really. I'm not gonna say they've been amazing because they haven't been. Like they've been solid, like you said. Like the lines are balanced. That's what you get with moving Barzell from wing to center. You don't. I said this yesterday to. I was watching the game with my brother and my dad. I said it yesterday. Every single winger on this team is a middle six winger. Like I feel like they don't really. Obviously, Shabanov 3 games into his career, right? Like he could kind of prove to be first line guy, right? But you don't know that yet. But I feel like every single winger would be a middle six guy on like solid teams. And that's not to say that like no one's good, right? Like we're giving guys opportunities on these top lines. Who knows? Maybe they can produce, right? But that's the biggest difference with moving Barzell off the wing back to center is he has has the talent of a first line winger, and obviously you got to have another center there with no Brock Nelson anymore, right? So I feel like that's the biggest thing that's been lost with that. And then kind of like the D, there's no true top line. Like you've got, I believe it's Drouin, Horvat, and Heineman on the first line against Winnipeg. And it's like, you look at that, it's like, that's your first line? Like Horvat, definitely, yeah, first line center right there, sure. But again, like I would feel comfortable with Heineman really on the second line, third line, or the fourth line, right? Like, and I feel that I can say that for every single winger, which, again, you're going to get decent production out of these guys, right? But there's just no true like number one, I guess, that's gonna take that role. And I feel like that's kind of why it feels like we said, they're playing well. They're once they have the puck in the offensive zone, they're doing good things. They're just not finishing. And maybe we have a true first line guy, right? A true first line guy, like we're gonna see more of those chances go in with him. But yeah, like I don't want to like be too hard on them, right? Like it's again, we've said it a million times in what 15 minutes, 3 games. It looks so much better than last year. It looks so much faster.
Just fast. That's the
Yeah,
big difference.
like it's
It's just
just
all depth though, like you mentioned. There's
yeah, like you're
nobody could take over. It's all middle six.
yeah. Although we did see some flashes from Shabanov
Oh
his last
yes,
2 games. Like he made that spin move against Washington, like just barely missed the net. Like he looks good. He looks good. He had that other chance. I think it went off the crossbar. He tried to go short side, kind of almost like bank it off of Logan Thompson's head. And then against Winnipeg, there was another one where I think it was on the power play. He was on the other side and he tried to sneak it short side and just missed it. Like he has been very good. And I think, we've seen some of these Russian guys in the past, right? Like Siplikov had a good year last year, but he had long stretches where he was cold. And that's not to say Shabanov's not going to have that. We saw what happened with Yan Kovar. Like, what was that, 2018?
that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
I don't even think he made it to the regular season. I think he was done in
No,
training
who was
camp.
the guy in 2021 that we
Anatoly
wanted?
Golashev.
Oh yeah, they didn't even give him a chance.
He didn't get a
We
game.
we had the whole team hurt with COVID. They wouldn't even play him. That was frustrating, but
And
different
yeah, we've
time.
seen some of these other Russian guys where it's like, it doesn't translate. And just, a lot of them are smaller. Shabanov, I know he was talked about like during training camp. He doesn't play small. Like he's playing like he's, like 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", right? Like he looks like he belongs. And yeah, like some of these we've seen flashes of it already just through these 3 games where he could just make something out of nothing. And obviously he hasn't
Confident.
yeah, he
You can
hasn't
tell he's
scored on any
playing
of those super
confident.
nice plays,
He's playing
but
loose. He's not timid like some of these guys. Like you just said, he's playing bigger coming in, and you don't always get that. So he's been really good. He scored his first NHL goal, obviously, but the lines are all bouncing around. He could potentially prove to be a top six guy by halfway through the season. You have to start him out low, and I think that was good for him to play with Peugeot, as we saw in the preseason. So he's looking a lot better. Someone that I really like who's been playing well is Anthony Duclair. He scored on the power play, the first home goal of the season on Saturday. He looks much quicker and helping the offense. So there's some guys that you probably want to see more out of. It's probably Barzell and probably Horvat because those are the two top dogs you could say, at least the way people look at things. Horvat is your one center, and I think overall his game's been fine, but it's the putting the pucks in the net which I think makes it more frustrating because he's had a lot of good looks and unable to score. And especially on the power play when they try to find him in that low slot area where they work it around and get him on that one timer. Because I want to add to the power play too with the forwards and just as everybody encapsulated. But the power plays look good too. They just haven't scored goals, which, I think that is going to come as they get more comfortable going into the season. I mean, yes, they went 0-5 on Monday, so that's kind of, frustrating because you look at 0-5 and you just think bad. But they had a lot of good looks, and it's the movement. They used to just sit there and pass the puck around. That's not going to score you goals. You got to skate around, and Schaefer's a big part of that since they put him on. It's looked better, but cycling, creating chances that way, and I think that'll fix things too.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's safe to say the coaching issue for the power play has been fixed. Like Ray Bennett has done a great job so far. They just look different. It was, we had John McClain, and then we had I'm trying to think of who like even but like before him, like who was running the power play. I'm playing what was
It's been a
I don't know.
turnstile for the
Yeah,
most
there's been multiple guys, right? And it's like even through all these different assistant coaches running the power play, like it looks very similar. Now it's actually like you see a change. You see the guys moving around more, and yeah, again, like you said, Schaefer is part of that because he's just everywhere.
Well, Drouin was a big help. I think he's looked pretty good so far. Like they signed him specifically for power play, and again, like missing Barzell and Duclair last year helped. We just thought by like addition of players that it was going to be different, and the goals are going to come. I'm not overly scared about the power play struggling in that way. The penalty kill has been more hit or miss though. If we're on special teams now, I mean they've had some where they've looked really good. Bad luck on Saturday at the home opener. They killed one off and immediately a goal goes in their net with Holmstrom down on the ice. But some really good kills, some that they got pinned in, they couldn't clear it, and then it ends up in the back of their net. So, patience here with that too. It just you see some better where there was nothing good last year, where at least say half of them look good now. It's progress.
Yeah,
It's
that's
still the
that's that
National
is
League,
progress. And
right?
like we
But
said, like we were 30, 31 and 32, I think, for power play and penalty kill last
I
year,
think
or
it was
30 and
31 for
31,
both, but still
maybe. Yeah, so it's like
one better.
even just getting to like 21, like that's significant progress, and that's what you want to see. And
And
yeah,
then you
like you
get
said,
better players and move on.
yeah, like I think especially with the power play, I think the coach it's no longer a coaching issue; it's just on the guys to finish, and they're gonna finish, like you said. It'll come to them. Um, I'm really not worried about the power play. I don't think it's gonna be a crazy power play where it's like almost automatic, but
Never.
they'll be better than what we've seen over the last I guess 5 years,
Probably more
and
than that.
that's yeah.
You remember Scott Gomez, the power play coach?
My God, do not get me started on Scott Gomez.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as coaching goes, I mean, this is also early, but if things continue this way, I don't see Patrick Waugh coaching this team next year. I know they're using him as like the vision to build things, but he does change the lines, I think, a little too much for my liking. But we'll see. It's a long season. But I like how he is with individual players and developing them. Aside from Siplikov, as he doesn't seem to like Siplikov very
Yeah,
much. Not sure
unfortunately.
what that's about, but he's buried on the fourth line, not really able to do much. So I'm hoping to see more out of him because he has the tools to be a successful player. Maybe he's a third liner is his role, and Holmstrom struggled as well. So maybe both of those guys can try to find a home there with things moving around. Maybe it sticks eventually. Like Emil Heineman could play first line or fourth line. Like he's like a kind of plug and play guy, but he had a really nice goal and a nice shot that we've been talking about and seeing a little bit. So there's a good example of it. But just all these guys like good forwards, but no game breakers, like you said to start this conversation. Which hopefully we see somebody go on a crazy tear starting soon. But it's tough to tell. It really just needs to be the goals. I think that's a good way to wrap the conversation. The power play itself is its own issue, the goal scoring. But I think the goal scoring for the 5-on-5 play, because they haven't looked horrible on 5-on-5 play, just in general, the whole team. Aside from when they give up the goals, because it's the mental lapses. That's what the problem is. They'll be playing a good game, and the forwards especially, things are going well, and then one turnover, one mistake, it ends up in the back of their net. So the goal scoring, if it doesn't come, then it's going to be a long year. But you know, it's got to come more than this. You have to think they're not going to be the Islanders of old under Trotz, where they're only scoring 2 goals a game. They're capable of scoring 3 or 4 per game, and it's not going to happen every game, but I think it's going to get there.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like we're just saying, oh, if, for the good things, it's like, oh, it's only been 3 games, what's great, and then negatives, it's only 3 games, and I don't know. I feel like we're kind of going all over the place with that, but yes, the truth is, It's 3 games. The trends you see through 3 games are not gonna continue over 82 games. So yeah, I'm really not worried. They'll score more than they are now. We'll see how much more. But yeah, I would not be overreacting after these games.
There's also the possibility we're being overly optimistic still with
That
given
is
what has
true.
happened because I think we're
Yes.
trying to keep it positive. You know, you just have to think it's going to get better, and if it doesn't, you know, it is what it is, and we'll kind of just go from there. But we could come back next week, and it could be 3-3, and all of a sudden things are different again, or they could be 0-6. You never really know. So it's hard to tell, but I think they're really not going to start winning games. As our final discussion here is if Ilya Sorokin doesn't figure it out. Now, if it's his fault or if it's the defender's fault, I think it's a mix of both because I think there's some place where he's kind of left out to dry. Some of the penalty kills, bad bounces off of a player and in, but then there's been a goal per game so far that he has to save, and it changes everything. You could pinpoint to Saturday's home opener, which obviously there was one in Pittsburgh too, but Saturday's home opener against Washington, there was one. There was ended up being a power play goal. Oh, not a power play goal. It was right as it expired. The Islanders killed it off, and then that one ends up going in. Bad luck. The fourth one, they made it 4-0. The puck was sitting there in the middle of nowhere, and it was Protas who came in. Sorokin has to come out of his net and play that. I think everybody I knew that because came out a little bit, he hesitated, and then he had to just sit in his net. He was too far back, and it was just an easy shot, floated right over his shoulder. He had no chance. And that 3-0, it's a tall task. 4, I don't know if you could really come back from that. It's very unlikely. And then in the game on Monday against Winnipeg, the Islanders finally score. They make it a 1-goal game. 13 seconds later, Logan Stanley, who's all over social media for never scoring, has had a 1-goal season every year for the last 7 years. He scores through him like a little floater. It was just
Can't
that
do it.
feels all the vibe. The crowd gets into it, and it's from frustrating because he makes so many insane saves, and then all of a sudden there's that, and it just what he's capable of. It just I don't know if it's a mental thing of the injuries, but yes, the D is a disaster sometimes, and they're running around. He has to stand on his head sometimes, and the Islanders are putting up 30 shots the other way. It used to not be that high, so now they're giving up less shots, and he has to be able to make some of these easier saves if they want any chance to go anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And we know it's like you said, we know what he's capable of, and I think that's why it's so frustrating. Because he can be when he's on his game, he is so good. It's so tough to beat him. And yeah, he's still making great saves. Seems like every game he's had at least one or two really nice saves that a lot of goalies probably aren't making. And then it's just the bad goals at the bad times. I think the Winnipeg one was the worst. Like you said, Pajot gets a nice tip to make it 2-1. You lose the face-off, and then here's Logan Stanley, 6'6" defenseman, stay-at-home guy. I think he was the last 2016 first-round pick to make his NHL debut. Right? He's from what I've seen, Winnipeg fans aren't too fond of him. They would not be
That's what I'm
upset getting
saying.
rid of
They're
him.
always telling, writing on their socials to take him out of the lineup.
Yeah, and you just let him just come down. It's just such a bad goal to give up. The goal itself, the goal alone would be bad at any time. But it's the fact, like you said, 13 seconds after Pajot makes it 2-1.
And how many times did they do that last year?
Yeah,
And
it's
it
just
killed them every time.
it's just so frustrating to see because when Sorokin's on his game, he's in the Vezina conversation, and he really hasn't gotten back to that point since. Honestly, I would say before the playoffs in 23, series-ending goal for that
Yeah, no, that goal
game
broke him.
6. Paul Stastny first of all, Tara, I don't know what Pelech was doing. He had so much room to skate it and just chipped it.
We're not breaking down that play now,
No,
but
yeah.
I mean, Stastny shot it from basically behind the red line.
That one's bad. That was on my birthday. That was a
Oh,
terrible night. And then yeah, he just has not been the same. I feel like there were some other goals during that series. Nothing particular comes to mind. I feel like there were some other
right. Yeah, no,
goals
that
where
definitely a
it felt
few.
like
But that's
he could have had it.
the one you look at. And then since that moment, the next year it was all right, injured a little bit, right? I think he started injured to start the year, so he didn't get the full, camp or whatever. Then they had to run him to the ground. That's when they had Ken Appleby, and they refused to play him because they didn't want to
Yeah.
sign anybody else. And then Varley kind of took over. It was, ride Varley to the playoffs, and they did. Everyone was like, we're going with Varley, and then that might have ended Varley's career at this point. So, and then it was the playoffs. Varley played the first two, and we're like, oh, we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna put Sorokin in because we lost the first two, and then he got pulled. Like he just,
Yep, game
and
three.
then since that point, like last year, a lot of like defense wasn't great, but still a lot of moments you're like, probably should have saved that one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
just
like
it's so
it's tough
frustrating.
to again, just because we know we're so used to him being good, it's tough to just be like like put all the blame on him, right? Because
Well,
he's
no,
bailed
of
us
course
out
not. The
so
defense
much.
being absolutely horrible helps. That's it, his case. Even so, I mean, we can't expect him to bail the team out like he did in 22-23 because that's what he did all year. I think it's more so like if he was making these saves on these weak shots, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be like, all right, he's not elevating the team. He's not like saving them like we've seen, which is fine. You can't expect him to do that. I mean, yes, you're paying him $8.5 million, but you know, you can't expect him to save the team. But you can't be giving up these muffins. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's and it's the weak goals and just at bad times. Like it just kills you.
And this is a time when you miss Varley because you have David Riddick, who is going to get a game eventually. But I feel like if you had a better backup, then Thursday the backup would be playing. Maybe even Monday he would have played. But I
Yeah.
think just and Riddick might be fine. You can't. You're scared to do that. Now you're getting antsy. You haven't won a game yet, so what are you going to do? I mean, the schedule's been tough. I mean, that's another thing here. Like they played, Washington, who won the division, Winnipeg, who won the President's Trophy, and Edmonton, who's been to back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. So, it's a tough task, but you know,
Yeah,
he
I
just
mean,
needs to
but
be better.
if Varley's healthy, then I think he plays that game against Winnipeg, and then you go back to Sorokin for Edmonton. But yeah, and again, like we haven't seen Riddick in the regular season yet, so I mean, I didn't think he was great in the preseason. Wall says he feels comfortable putting him in. He feels comfortable with both goalies. Um, but he also made it clear he has a ton of faith in Sorokin. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Sorokin play because I don't know when the first back to back is. You got to imagine if they lose against Edmonton, then Riddick goes next.
Well, they have Ottawa Saturday, and then I think San Jose Tuesday, and I feel like he's got maybe you get him that game, unless the Islanders don't win yet. But just sitting there, you want to get him in some action. But we'll see how long it really takes. But I think we all have the faith in Sorokin because we've seen it before, and I think that's why people always argue for him and vouch for him because they believe in him because what he's capable of. And I think we're in the same spot. Like we know it's in him, so we're giving him the benefit of the doubt that he will figure it out. But we still have to state what has gone on, and that's that he needs to be better. I think that's just the perfect way to put a bow on it.
And just one more thing with Sorokin. I think any trade talk is just ridiculous. First off, I mean the guy's got a full no move clause. Like he's I don't want to spend a lot of time. I just think any like if you're gonna trade him, why are you gonna trade him at his lowest value?
Well, my point on that is, how much worse it could be by trading Ilya Sorokin. I mean, I have seen this on Twitter, so I know why you bring it up. Like, okay, he's not playing great. You trade Ilya Sorokin. You want to see bad goaltending? We've seen it before.
We're gonna
You
get
really have no chance because you're scared every shot's going to be a terrible goal like that.
David Riddick is gonna turn into Kevin Poole and going diving at Darren Helm's legs, and that I think he lost 6-0 that game. Back I think it's December 2013.
That's a
That
throwback.
was I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know we mentioned Kevin Poole just before.
I've been to plenty 6-0
Yeah.
games, 7-0 games in my
My
life.
first game was against Boston at the
Yep, I
Coliseum,
remember that game.
2011.
Yeah,
Lost 6-0.
we were both there actually.
Yep.
So
The high seats, best view.
no, well, no, we had a better view of that game. I
Yeah.
remember that one. That was pretty cool. I got to go down. I mean, I don't know how we were young. I mean, you were younger
Yeah. I mean,
obviously
I was
than
in
me.
kindergarten.
Yeah, I was, a couple years older, but I think I got like the high five pass to like high five the
Yeah.
players or something.
There you go.
That was yeah, it was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
um
We could have, it could be like Alex Nedeljkovic. Again, I love Alex Nedeljkovic, right? My guy, Charlotte Checkers legend, Calder Cup champion. But that game against Vegas gives up a goal from center ice to Eichel to tie the game. And then overtime,
brutal.
he hesitates going out to play the puck, finally decides to go out, puts it into shin pads, and then I think it was Riley Smith had an open net. Like
Here's a
it,
good example. Look at the Edmonton Oilers. They just went to the Stanley Cup back-to-back years and lost. Could you imagine that team if they had good goaltending? They'd
That would
have
be
at
that would
least
be
one cup
scary.
by now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also tough. Their roster is so good, and they did make it that far without. So maybe it's not the best example, but goaltending can really hurt you, and it could really elevate you because we've seen, this team with not great goaltending before. Over the past few years since Trotsky and Lou came in, it's been good. So we've been
Yeah.
lucky in that regard. But
But I mean, even
um,
last year when we had it was Skarek and Lennox. Like obviously Lennox only got into that one game. It was or I guess not Skarek and or we got Hogberg. But like, could you imagine having to watch Hogberg every night? Like again, I'm not gonna say Riddick is
and that's the
Hogberg.
situation with some of these teams, some of these bad teams that you get stuck with that.
Yeah, and it's just people. I feel like a lot of people don't realize they don't have that fresh memory of how bad it could be. Like at the very start of this conversation, you said it could be so much worse. Like it could be. I think
It's hard to think of a specific
we're
sample
so
right
used to
now.
having that good goaltending
Yeah.
that we haven't had truly horrendous goaltending in a while. So people start to forget, and I think
Like I
that's
guess
what's
it's
happening.
different if you're like a team like San Jose over the past few years who's been like bad, like they're rebuilding. But for a good team or it's like a cusp team trying to make it, it's killer. You can't do anything. You cannot win. Like the Oilers have gotten away with it because they have two of the three best players in the world, I think. So you know, so now we had a little long discussion on this, but Sorokin's not going anywhere. We hope he figures it out. And I think the team as a whole, 0-3, but a lot to like, especially from the forwards, a lot to not like from the defense, and some to not like from the forwards. But still early, you know, if this team ends up not being great this year, we could at least look forward to watching Schaefer and Shabanov develop into future long-term pieces for this Islanders squad. And if they end up being good and turn it around, then we'll look for a race to the playoffs. But I think regardless, the future is bright, as we're going to say all year. We've said it all summer, trending in the right direction. So I think I'm happy whichever direction we go this season. But so far, not looking too great. And we know if they get to the point where they're out of it, another win for them would be trading off some older players and recouping more assets. So that's probably going to end up happening.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe add a second round pick, make up for that lost pick we have now. I know there's some discussion on Twitter about our 2026 second rounder that we don't have. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I'm not gonna go too crazy after 3 games. So we'll, like you
Neither will
said,
I.
we'll
So
enjoy
everything here is
watching
an
Schaefer, enjoy
overreaction.
watching Shabanov, and see where they take us.
Yeah, everything here is definitely an overreaction, if you want to say that, because we only have 3 games, so we'll have more, and then as we get a couple episodes in, it'll be all we'll know what we're seeing because they could be streaky. I mean, when Watt came in, they would win 7 in a row, lose 7 in a row, so it's highly possible that that happens again. But it's a long season for a reason. We're just excited that hockey's back, and regardless of how they're playing, to be able to come on here and talk about the Islanders and watch them. So. That's going to do it for this episode of On Isles Time. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Brendan Yerkes and Cole Healy, make sure to follow us on all our accounts at On Isles Time, ONISLESTIME on X, TikTok, and Instagram. And again, for On Isles Time, thank you so much for tuning in.